recording. No? Thank you. So, the name of tonight's talk is Investigate Your Beliefs, I think I'll settle with that. So this is a continuation of a talk that I gave last time I was here, but it's a standalone talk. And the talk I gave when I was last here was about the medicine of practice, and some of you were here, I know, and it's about the resources that we can use from practice to ease the dis-ease that we all feel as part of living a human life. The sense of dissatisfaction, discomfort, dis-ease, discontent, irritation, what the Buddha called dukkha, the sense of unsatisfactoriness that comes as a parcel of being born in this incarnation. And so the Buddha gave what I said last time was the medicine of the Dharma to relieve the unnecessary suffering that we mostly unwittingly generate out of a delusion. And he acknowledged that a lot of our experience is painful, but also that we add a lot of unnecessary suffering to our difficult experience. And so what I was talking about last time was I was here was the first resource, or the first medicine of knowing and recognizing what is arising as difficult, particularly a difficult mind state, and labeling that and recognizing and legitimizing your difficult experience. So bringing mindfulness and recognition to whatever's arising without shaming yourself, which unfortunately a lot of us do when something is difficult in our experience. We delegitimize it. We wish it away. We see ourselves as less than for having these difficult mind states, emotions, and experiences. So, as I said last time, just to name and label these hindrances is incredibly resourcing, because much of the power of these difficult states is that they're out of our awareness and they're out of our unconsciousness. So, labeling them legitimizes them. So it's really powerful, as I said last time, to ask yourself regularly, what is happening in my inner world right now? What is the mood, the state, the weather of my mind? So I invite you to do that right now. What is the mood that's currently with you? What is the weather of your own heart mind? So just take a moment just to check that. And I think this is a very powerful thing to do regularly during your day. So just notice if there's agitation or dullness, or maybe there's steadiness, maybe there's ease, maybe there's a sense of being hopeful or bored or serene, or just check for yourself and give it a label. And allow it, make room for it. Is anyone willing to share what they noticed? Maybe just a word that would describe the current weather of your own heart mind? Restless, yes. It's interesting because you don't look restless. So isn't it interesting how we can look a certain way, but that's your experience on the inside? Yeah. So I'm so glad you could give that a name. Good. Yeah. Anybody else? Can you put a word to it?
Relieved.
Relieved? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Relieved. Okay. Yeah. You look like you're checking. Yeah. Relieved. Good. Okay. So I can notice in my experience there's a sense of subtle agitation, sort of jangled feeling, slightly jangled, and a kind of open feeling as well. Yeah, I'm just checking mine. So this is what the Buddha called the first noble task, is recognizing your humanness. And it's very powerful to give it a name. So I do this all day. Hurried, agitated, content. Today I got home from this shopping expedition and I picked up a plum and I sat on my bed and the sun was coming in my bedroom and I just sat, me and the plum, and I just took one bite at a time and I was filled with such delight. All there was in the world in that moment was me and the plum and the sun. And I was filled with sweetness, not just the plum, but just that moment. And not only was the plum delicious and the moment delicious, but I paused and really knew that. Yeah. So that is the first noble task, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, is really face to face with your experience. Very powerful medicine. And sometimes it's just enough to recognize, just to label whatever's moving through you, whether it's a wave of shame, whether it's restlessness, whether it's worry. This is a huge preoccupation of human beings, is worried. Just, just being able to say to yourself, oh, this is worry. Just step back. This is worry. This is a survival instinct. Yeah. And it's okay. You don't have to do anything about it. Just be present to it. This is what's happening right now. This is what we call being with your direct experience. Yeah. So this is the first medicine that I talked about last time, is pausing. This power of a pause, step back, and to be able to differentiate what is happening right now. Is it a strong feeling in the body? Is it strong thoughts? Is it a story? Is it some kind of comparison? Is it some kind of struggle, emotional struggle? So we're doing this with warmth and generosity, yeah, with tolerance even. If you can't allow what's there, can you just tolerate it? That is the bare minimum. Could I just tolerate this sense of anxiety or sadness? I had someone telling me today, she's feeling so much sadness and grief. And she said, can you just tell me how to get happy? So I just want to get back to happiness. She had a broken heart. Yeah. And I was saying, part of your problem is you're trying to be something that you're not. You're broken-hearted. So rather than trying to get happy, can you just bring presence to your brokenheartedness? She looked at me like I was insane. Yeah? Because this is counterintuitive. We do everything we can to move away from our direct experience. So she's going, tell me that again. What? Yeah. Just hand on heart. Just sort of take her through it. She's going, broken-hearted, broken-hearted. Okay, that's it. Broken-hearted. Yeah, the warmth of your own meeting with your own experience. So not turning away from yourself, turning towards yourself, bringing love from you to you. And this recognizing and labeling is very downregulating for the nervous system. So I've said this before, but they've put people in fMRI machines, magnetic resonance machines, and asked them to label what's happening for them in the machine. So, very often lying in that machine, you can be quite agitated. So they're scanning their brain, what's happening in their brain. And if the person can say what's happening, they can measure the stress response goes down. The stimulation to the survival part of the old brain is downregulated. So the scientists love measuring all this Dharma stuff now. You know, it's like we need the science to tell us this stuff works. Yeah. So this is a beautiful medicine. You know, whatever's there, it's the antidote. It's the first antidote to just to bear witness and make room for and say, I'm exhausted, or I'm so confused, or I'm brokenhearted, or I'm so annoyed. There's annoyance. And just be with it without analysing it and wishing it away. Okay, I've numbered where I want to go on my pieces of paper and hope I go in the right direction. So once we name that mind state and we recognise that it's just a passing event, it's very ephemeral, it doesn't hang around. Have you noticed that these mind states never stay? You've never had one emotion that stayed your whole life. They're passing, they're ephemeral, they're impermanent. So when you name that, you begin to possess its power rather than it possessing you. We often have metaphors for our inner world. We say we're down in the dumps. We say, you know, I'm flat as a tack. Someone's saying, she said, I'm as scared as a, she said, oh, like I'm a big scaredy cat. And we use these metaphors to kind of keep away, keep a distance from our inner life. Yeah, our feeling become very evasive. So something incredible happens when you're able to do this first noble task the Buddha described. It allows space to be around the experience. You're not caught in the center of it. The experience becomes more spacious. And you become the owner and the author of your life. And there's another great thing that happens, is it's a real gateway of compassion. So when you're able to label stress as stress or sadness as sadness, there's this arising of compassion for yourself, and it's a very natural movement of your heart. So allowing, opening, and then as we're allowing and opening our inner world, we're more able to allow and open to other people's distress, discomfort, and suffering. So that is why we start with ourselves. The allowing of our own inner life then naturally extends and opens to allow for others' raggedness and messiness and humanness. The second practice that I wanted to talk about today is this practice of investigation. And this is a really big topic of practice that we often don't pay much attention to in our practice. We're very seduced by the idea of mindfulness, of recognizing and bringing attention to. But this practice of inquiring and curiosity, the Buddha gave a lot of credence to. And it's really an incredible resource. It adds a wisdom dimension to our practice that can really unbind the mind. So that is getting interested and investigating what is happening, particularly if it's unpleasant. So noticing it, labeling it, and then if it's hanging around, if it's not just a fleeting irritation or a fleeting sense of flatness, bringing a gentle inquiry to the experience. And I've said before, but can you bring an inquiry to how it's showing up in your body? That is the simplest and most effective tool I have for inquiring or investigating my inner world. So if I notice there's sadness, where is sadness in my body? And it's always in your body, always. So if you're restless or irritated or tense or annoyed or anxious, where is that in your body? And this is the piece that many yogis skip. Yeah. So just noticing what the mood is of your own mind right now, whether you're at home or in the room here. Even if it's a pleasant experience. And then just check in your body how you know that that's here. Find it in your body. And notice what's happening in the body. What sensations are there? Is it squeezing or pulsing or tingling? How's it showing up? How big is that sensation? Is it in the chest? Is it in the belly? Is it in the throat? This is the body of emotion. So when you come into the contact with the bodily sensation of something that's difficult, it can really transmute into compassion for yourself. It can really soften what's difficult if you can turn to the bodily experience of it. And then you might also investigate what is feeding this mind state. So if there's irritation, what is feeding it? So this is not analysis. This is just investigation of your direct experience. What's feeding aversion? What's feeding sadness or lethargy or boredom? So this is the Buddha's wisdom questions. What is feeding this hindrance, he asked. So very powerful to investigate thinking and thoughts and stories in the mind. Investigating what stories are running through my mind. What is the mind fabricating right now? He called this fabricating papancha. So what is the mind fabricating right now? Particularly if you're in a stressful experience with another human being. Have you noticed that's where a lot of stress arises? It's kind of the coal face of your Dharma practice. So when you're in some kind of tryst with someone else, some kind of tension with someone else, noticing, investigating what is being fabricated in my mind right now. We put so much unnecessary emphasis on what is the other person doing it. Why are they saying that? They should be doing something else, rather than turning the light of attention and investigation into what is happening in this experience whilst I'm with this other person. And this is very liberating if you can turn your attention and your inquiry into your inner world whilst you're in a difficult relationship or a difficult moment with a stranger, with a colleague, with someone at home. What is happening in my body whilst I'm with this other person? What thoughts are running through my mind? So we give 80% of our attention to this experience and 20% to the other person. Normally, it's the other way around. 80% of our attention is why are they doing this? They should be doing something else. Can't they see that I'm right? Rather than coming back home to this embodied experience of what's difficult, what's moving through the mind, what beliefs are activated, what stories are about myself, what opinions, what rigid opinions are arising, what familiar mental narrative is appearing now. So this is the work of investigation and inquiry. Yeah? Seeing a story, seeing a belief, seeing patterns in your own heart-mind. Stories that you're not enough, beliefs that you're not safe in the world, a story that it's all up to you, familiar patterns or stories that you're not worthy, you're unlovable, things are too hard. And you can really do this all day. This is the Dharma work of a yogi, is to watch the patterns and investigate the patterns of your own mind in any humble experience. So I had this experience today. I had a saucepan. I put it in the saucepan drawer, but I knew as I was doing it that it didn't fit. But I put it in there anyway. It's in a bit of a hurry, and I kind of jammed it in. And then I kind of jammed the drawer closed, thinking maybe some magic would happen as I closed the drawer and those saucepans would sort themselves out. And then about a minute later, I really wanted to open that drawer. No. I opened the drawer and it's completely stuffed. It's got one too many saucepans in there. And I'm pulling on it. No. You know, it's opening about 2 inches. Not enough to get another saucepan out of there. So I'm kind of, you know, pulling on it. And I'm in this tug of war with reality. The drawer's not opening. But I want some magic to happen. And then I started watching my mind playing this game with the drawer. And I'm investigating the fabrication and the beliefs in my own mind. And I saw something so familiar about the patterns, the conditioned patterns of my own mind. And it was so incredible. I'm doing this and I really want to get a saucepan out. And then I can see my mind start to spin a belief. It's hopeless. I'll never get a saucepan out of there ever again. And this is something so familiar to me. So I brought the power of investigation to my own direct experience. And I saw something old and young and very painful. It was like my mind collapsed and said, it's of no use. This drawer will never open again. And when I saw it as a belief, real but not true, I was free. And before I saw it, I was the victim of my own belief. So this is the power of investigation, to see beliefs as beliefs, to see stories. What is the story in my mind right now? What is the mind fabricating right now? Because until you see it, you are at its mercy. And when you can shine the light of attention and investigation on these patterns, the Buddha said, that is the doorway to liberation. And I saw it as a belief. And my heart opened up again. And then I found a way. But because before then, I had given up on that drawer ever opening again. And then the creativity comes in and I worked out with a knife what I was going to do. But before then, there was this sense of collapse. Someone else is going to have to open this drawer. And that is a very old story. So that is what the Buddha is asking us to do. Watch your mind, shine the light of investigation, not just mindfulness, but investigation. There, can you see or hear the difference in those two things? So I noticed, the struggle, but then I got very curious about the struggle. So this is the power of investigation. So it's the second factor of awakening. And these factors of awakening, the Buddha gave 7 of them, they counteract the forces in the mind that keep us deluded and keep us suffering. So the 7 factors of awakening are mindfulness, investigation, which is this discrimination of what's happening in the mind, discrimination of thoughts, feelings, mind states, stories. Then there's energy. When we bring enough investigation to what's happening in our own mind, It brings energy to practice. Then there's rapture, calm, concentration, and equanimity. So it's the practice of investigating your own mind, its patterns, habits, preferences, and tendencies that truly liberate your heartland. Joseph Goldstein, the insight teacher, American insight teacher, says, in fact, the entire Satipatthana is in fact a map guiding us in this investigation. An investigation is in the service of wisdom, comprehending things as they really are. So mindfulness brings us face to face with these mind states, with difficult experience. And the wisdom factor uses this curiosity to see where our suffering arises from. And it takes great courage, great commitment, persistence, and honesty to look deeply into your thoughts and actions that you have all day. Checking the attitude of your mind at any moment. Investigating what is your intention when you're speaking with someone. Is there a belief or opinion that you're holding about this person? So any painful exchange with someone else can be a skillful investigation. What is actually going on here? What is the emotion that's running here? Where is it in my body? What is the belief about the other person? Is there a belief about myself? I'm unlovable. How am I getting caught right now is an incredible inquiry question. Where is my mind clinging right now? What does this emotion need? Every emotion has a need. So you can hear these are not analytical questions. These are powerful, direct, investigative questions that brings rise to clarity and letting go. And to begin to see that these mind states and these experience of dukkha are impermanent in their nature, and not to get identified with them as I, me, or mine. The Buddha said, when one sees the impermanence, the persecution of not self is stabilized. One who perceives not self eradicates the conceit of I am, which is nibbana, freedom in this very life. So this inquiry, this investigation is the source of liberation, because states of bliss, tranquility, and calm all pass away. But the insights that arise from the practice of inquiry are what we're left with. They are the jewels of practice. So I want to finish with a poem tonight about bringing love and kindness and investigation to your human experience. And the poem is called If Abandonment is the Core Wound by Jeff Foster. If abandonment is the core wound, the disconnection from mother, the loss of wholeness, then the most potent medicine is this ancient commitment to never abandon yourself, to discover wholeness in the whole mess, to be a loving mother to your insides, to hold the broken bits in open awareness, to illuminate the sore places with the light of love. Okay. So I invite you to take up the practice of meeting yourself, labeling what's right here, and a gentle investigation of what is the mind doing right now? Where is it clinging? What belief is running the show? Okay. Thank you for your kind listening. May you go well, gently into the night. Thank you. Thank you. Amanda has some more to say, so I'll hand over to Amanda.
So I just have to say thank you for your jewel, your precious treasure of a teaching, and for your presence here and guiding us tonight, Angela. So I'm going to now invite you all into another practice of Dharma, which is a practice of generosity. It's a practice of love, and it's a practice of being in a relationship of reciprocity with Angela and with the Buddha Dhamma that we've received in Angela's teachings here tonight. So this is a precious jewel that has been handed down freely since the time of the Buddha. It doesn't have a price. It's given with love. It's given with investigation and wisdom. And you are now invited to meet that gift that's been given to you by Angela, this precious jewel, with offering a monetary gift to Angela. So, and this puts you in a relationship. It puts us all in a relationship together, a relationship of love and generosity. So if you're here in the room, we've got a beautiful wooden box as you walk out the door. I invite you, you can put cash in that. If you're online, I invite you to give electronically by transfer. And I really invite you to really come into relationship with that. In our Western life, it can be a really tricky and sticky thing to do, but how can you give as generously as you can to allow Angela to keep teaching and to be really nourished and fed by the money that you give her? So thank you for being here with us. Thank you to all of you online. It's just wonderful to see some beautiful faces that I recognise. I'd like to say goodbye, everybody. I'm going to turn you around. So
They're real.
Here's everyone in the room. Good night. Go well. So we'll say goodbye to all of you online. And then just to those of you here in the room, Angela's direct debit details are on a